as Kojo was saying, my name is Yemisi Adegoke. I work at the BBC in Lagos, and I'm going to be talking about disinformation in Nigeria. I'm sure this is something that everyone's heard about a lot: fake news, misinformation, disinformation. We hear about it in the US, Europe, in Asia. But what myself and the BBC Africa I team were really interested in was looking at what was happening on ground in Nigeria. So it's really important for me to start off by saying that fake news in Nigeria is not a new thing at all. It's something that's been in existence for decades, and there are lots of reasons that people attribute to this. So some people say it's because there's a lack of trust in official information, there's a lack of trust in the press, but for whatever reason, it's something that's existed for a long time. So it wasn't created by social media, it wasn't created by the internet, but the internet has exacerbated an existing problem to the point where now I can speak from personal experience. I'm constantly getting WhatsApp messages from my mom sending me all sorts of random forwards about God knows what. Sometimes it's security alerts, sometimes it's health advice that says don't mix oranges and pineapples because you end up getting sick. So lots of random things that you find on WhatsApp and Facebook. And I'm sure some of you have probably heard the latest rumor that's floating around Nigeria, which is whether or not our president is a clone. That is a fake news story that has gone very, very far. And there are lots of people that actually believe that. So that's what we're dealing with. But we were really interested in finding out what happens when disinformation goes from being absurd or slightly funny or quirky to being quite serious and having quite disastrous and tragic consequences. So in order to do that, we went to a place called Jos in Plateau State, and that's in the Middle Belt region of Nigeria. So for people that don't know, it's a really beautiful place, has really nice weather, it's really famous for its produce, and it's a really beautiful place. But unfortunately, it's been marred by decades of ethnic violence and religious tension. And these clashes between their own Christians and Fulani Muslims often become quite violent. So security tensions and the religious and ethnic violence that's happened in that area has made it a real breeding ground for a lot of fake news. So there's a lot of disinformation floating about when there are attacks and even when there aren't attacks. So it's a really tense area, and sometimes it can have really, really problematic consequences. So in late June this year, between 86 and 238 Beryl Christians were killed by Fulani Muslims in the Gashish district of Jos. And it was a series of really brutal attacks. At the same time as those attacks were happening, a series of images and videos were circulating on Facebook. This is one of the videos, I'm not sure if it's going to play, that was circulating at the time. So you can't really see it, but this video is basically showing people running. There's lots of dust. We had to actually cut down the video that we published because it gets quite graphic towards the end. You see people with lost limbs, people that have been macheted to death. It's really, really a graphic video. And the person who posted this was saying, this is what's happening in Gashish now. This is what's going on. We need help. It was a really provocative and emotive message. And this video was viewed more than 10,000 times, and it was shared 900 times. But like a lot of the posts that were circulating at that time, this video was not shot in Gashish. It came from an arms dump explosion in Congo, Brazzaville, and was shot in 2012. But this was circulating during the time of these attacks. So hours after these videos and pictures went viral, a mob took to the streets of Jos, and they were armed with machetes and knives, and they went looking for Fulani Muslims. So as people were driving, they blocked the roads and interrogated drivers and asked them what their religion was, and dragged the Muslims out of the cars and killed them. So 11 men in total were dragged from their cars and killed. Some were burned beyond recognition. Can't see the picture. Sad. So one of my slides is all missing, but this was a photo of one of the victims, and his name was Ali Al-Haji Mohammed. He was a potato seller and a husband, was a father of 15 children, and he was on business coming back home when he was stopped by a mob, dragged out and murdered. And this is his wife, her name is Umar, and she was trying to tell us what the loss of her husband had done to their family. You don't have the sound, but it was a really difficult interview for her. I mean, she had some of her children playing in the front, and you could just see how devastated they were by that loss. He had left in the morning and had asked them to make dinner for him, and he came and he never came back. They never saw him again. He had nothing to do with the previous attacks that had happened, but he had been victimized for it. So what's the link between Ali's death and disinformation? Well, the police in Jos say that there's a very clear link, and they told us that fake news on Facebook is killing people. A police spokesman said that these images were directly responsible for the reprisal attacks that killed Ali and the 10 other men. A Barom youth leader that we spoke to agreed with the police and said, and I'm going to quote him here, he said, "As soon as we saw those images, we just wanted to strangle any Fulani man standing next to us. Who would not if they saw their brothers getting killed?" So Facebook, Nigeria. It's a nice picture of Mark Zuckerberg and our president. Facebook in Nigeria, it consistently ranks as one of the most popular social media platforms. When Mark Zuckerberg came to Lagos in 2016, there were 16 million monthly Facebook users, and today there are 24 million. In 2016, Facebook rolled out its free basics program with Airtel, offering access to 80 pre-selected websites at no extra cost. That includes Facebook and the BBC, I have to say that. And many of the young people that we spoke to in Jos described Facebook as being an integral part of their lives. They said this was something that they checked every day, and they loved that it gave them a way to see the rest of the world and to show the rest of the world their lives. But when it came to the issue of disinformation, many of these young kids did not know how to identify it and did not know how to report it, even when they saw it. So what is Facebook doing about this problem in Nigeria? Well, they told us they're aware of the issue of disinformation and that they're pursuing a multi-pronged approach to fight it. And at the center of this is their third-party fact-checking program, which is already rolled out in 17 countries. Now, in Nigeria, that launched in October, and there was a lot of excitement about it. People were really looking forward to seeing how this program would work. And the third parties in Nigeria are the French news agency, the AFP, and the non-profit organization Africa Check. So the idea is the fact checkers will review stories that are flagged to them by their Facebook's automated system for detecting false news. And this includes posts that have been flagged by users. Facebook say that once a piece of content has been rated as false, they are able to decrease its future views by 80%. So that sounds pretty good on the surface. You look at it and you think, okay, that's not bad, they're trying to fight this. But we did a bit of digging, and we spoke to some insiders and some experts to try to understand what Facebook was really doing. And we found out that the fact-checking partners only have 4 full-time fact-checkers in Nigeria that are analysing and debunking fake news. So that's 4 people for an audience or a usership of 24 million Nigerians every single month. So we also found that none of the 4 fact-checkers that are employed full-time speak Hausa, which is one of the major languages in Nigeria and is where a sea of disinformation lives. So we took our findings to Facebook, and they told us that any suggestion that they're not trying to fight this and they're not taking it seriously is misleading. They said that their fact-checking partners support Hausa, and when we asked them what that meant, they said that any time teams needed support, they had access to it. When we sent them that above video from Congo Brazzaville, they removed it and said it violated their policy of violent and graphic content. But when we checked a few days later, the video was still there, but under another title. Another problem in Nigeria is the blurring of the lines between hate speech and disinformation. So sometimes you'll have cases, I wish I could show you, but sometimes you'll have cases where people are posting information about real incidents, but mixed with half-truths and language that's couched in violence and to sort of spread hatred. And an example of this is a user that we identified called Idris Ahmed. He's based in the UK, but says that he's from Nigeria. And he's been identified by the Nigerian army as somebody who likes to cause a lot of trouble online. So he is a Fulani Muslim, and he would constantly post on his page derogatory and demeaning content about the Berom community in Jos, where the violence is happening. He would often call for this community to be wiped out. He would make vocal calls for genocide and all sorts of awful things like that. And I mean, people are saying that they are making progress. The federal government has launched a fake news initiative. What that actually entails, no one's really sure, but they have assured everybody that they are working to combat this. Newsrooms in Nigeria are also stepping up to the plate. 16 of them have entered into a fact-checking partnership in collaboration with First Draft. And Facebook have told us too that they are hiring new teams that are dedicated to preventing this spread of fake news, and they're doing this worldwide. But they didn't give us any specific details when it came to Nigeria. So one of the really difficult aspects of this disinformation is what happens to families. So people like Ali, who have potentially lost someone because of this false news. So when we went to visit the family, they told us that they're surviving because of the generosity of the community. But Uma, his first wife, was telling us about her genuine fears for the future. And in an interview that we had with her, she pointed at one of her sons and said, every day he comes and tells me that one day when he grows up, he's going to get a gun and kill the person who killed his father. And that's one of the major issues that's just not spoken about with this kind of violence. You know, fake news can get pushed down the Facebook feed and accounts can be suspended, but what happens afterwards? And especially in places like Jos, where this cycle of hatred is so generational, fake news like this just continues to push that cycle further. Oh, let's back up. And this is everybody that contributed to our investigation. Thank you very much for sticking with me.